10 minutes in, we've got ace-10 offsuit on the button, under the gun +1 limps in, middle position player calls. I prefer to raise rather than fold or call because I'd like to play a bigger pot in position against 1 or 2 players at most, rather than allow the small blind and big blind a chance to enter the pot without paying much for it. The big blind calls, the limpers call, we're going 4 ways to the flop in position, it comes ace-9 deuce with 2 clubs, it checks to me. Ace-high flops are good for my range as the pre-flop aggressor, and my actual hand is probably best. I bet 45. I don't want to allow my 3 opponents to see free cards. The big blind folds, under the gun +1 calls, the middle position player folds, it's down to heads up. The turn is the king of diamonds, it's another card that's much better for my range than it is for the opponent's limp calling range. Under the gun +1 checks, I considered checking back for pot control, but I felt I was best on the flop. The king shouldn't have changed anything. I bet 115 to continue to charge strong type of hands and worse aces. Under the gun +1 comes out of nowhere with a check raised at 265. It's tough for me to make sense of this. He shouldn't have aces, kings, nines, or ace-king that he'd be making this play with for value. Maybe he has a set of deuces, ace-9, ace-deuce, or king-9. Maybe he just has some kind of draw. His sizing is very strange. It's tough for me to fold for 150 more when I'm getting almost 4-1 on a call. It kinda seems like it let me see where I'm at raised with 1 pair. If he has something strong, he'd still be giving me a good price to call with a flush draw. I call, this is becoming a big pot, the river is the 5 of diamonds, the front door flush draw misses. I'd be totally fine seeing the under the gun +1 player slow down and check. He couldn't care less. He bet 600. The major draws have missed, including some combos like Broadway cards containing 2 clubs. I'm feeling the severe case of my calling disease take over my body to the point where it's overwhelming. I call, it's a bad one. The opponent shows that he has a set of deuces. Of course he does. I feel dumb for losing the maximum. I feel dumber since it's only 10 minutes into the session. I thought he was trying to make a move on me because that frequently happens at meetup games, when we get pocket kings less than 5 minutes later in the big blind. Under the gun +2 raises to 15. With the ace-deuce 4-bet still freshly in everyone's mind, I 3-bet to 60. Under the gun +2 doesn't believe me. He calls, we're going heads up to the flop, out of position. The dealer puts out 10-8-5 with 2 diamonds. This isn't a great flop from my 3-bet range due to the fact that I'll mostly only have 1 pair hands at best. Meanwhile, the opponent can have pretty much all the sets. For that reason, I consider checking. Then I decide not to and bet 65. I wouldn't be surprised to get called light, given my image. Under the gun +2 matches the bet. We've got a large pot developing. I don't really want to see another diamond come out, but it may not be all that bad since we've got the king of diamonds and would at least pick up a flush draw. Instead, the turn is the 4 of spades. It's a complete blank. Not much reason to check. I bet 150 to charge draws, top pairs, and hands like pocket queens, jacks, and even nines. The opponent calls once more. Now I really don't want to see a diamond. A flush draw is what I put under the gun +2 on the most. The river is another 5. I'm happy with that card. I doubt our opponent would have made it this far into the hand with a single 5. There really shouldn't be a ton of 10s in this range either. In fact, he should only have ace-10 suited and pocket 10s. With this in mind, I check to feign weakness in order to induce a bluff from missed flush draws. If my opponent has queens or jacks, he may be inclined to bet for value, but that value will be going to us. Under the gun +2 checks back. We flip over the kings. It's a bit disappointing that there wasn't any betting on the river. Still, we win a nice pot to get closer to even on the day. I was hoping you had a flush draw and we're gonna...
No, that's too fair.
You did?
Martha, you gotta show for the vlog, man.
Oh, okay.
Just say it. Make something up.
I had 10-8.
You 10-8? What? Pick up ace-6 of diamonds in the cutoff. Under the gun +1 raises to 20. A player in middle position calls, the hijack calls, I call, the button calls. We're going 5 ways to the flop. It comes king-8 deuce with 2 diamonds. We've got the nut flush draw. It checks to me. Checking or betting are reasonable options. I bet 55 in anticipation of drilling the flush. The button calls, the pre-flop raiser folds, the middle position player calls, the hijack calls. It's down to 4 of us. The turn is the jack of hearts. It checks to us once more. Since the middle position player and the hijack checked the flop after the initial pre-flop raiser checked, and then no one raised my bet, with multiple opponents in there and a flush draw, it's possible that no one's that strong. I'm the most likely person to have 2 pair or a set. I stick with my semi-bluffing ways and bet 210. The button is less sure about quitting than Brett Favre, but he eventually folds. The middle position player calls. The action's on the hijack. He's got the glint of someone with devious intentions. I already know what's coming. He rips it in for 875 total. It's 665 more for us to call. I want to make it so bad. The only strong hand that makes much sense for the opponent to have is potentially king-jack or a set of deuces or 8s. Still, he probably would have raised on the flop with a set after I bet, 2 other players called, so he's really only representing king-jack. If he's doing this as a semi-bluff with a hand like queen-10 or 10-9 of diamonds or hearts, we've got him crushed. calling is so much more fun, and the odds aren't terrible for me if the middle position player also calls. With only one card left, I reluctantly fold. The middle position player also folds. The hijack shows that he does have king jack. We make it disciplined, and what is probably correct laydown. We need to know for sure if it is though. There's only one way to do that. It's kind of against the rules, but otherwise, quite a few viewers are going to be left unsatisfied. I can't let you guys down. Also, I just kind of want to know, while the dealer's distracted, we burn the top card and see that the river would have been the 3 of hearts.
Sorry.
I'm not really though. It feels much better knowing that we would have bricked and lost several hundred more had we called. We're back below the even mark, but a gentleman named Todd helps ease the pain with a New England IPA and a couple of Trey Lance rookie cards because he knows that I'm a big 49ers fan. We've got king-queen offsuit in the cutoff. A player in middle position limps in for 5. It's not going to stay that amount. We raised to 30. The small blind has a hand that he wants to play. He 3-bets to 125. The limper folds. King-queen offsuit is a pure fold in this situation. If it were suited, we'd call or 4-bet. There's a loophole to preflop charts that not many people know about though. When you're stuck, you're allowed to pretend like your cards are suited. That's what I do as I make the call. We're heads up in position. The flop comes 7-4-3 rainbow. We've got 2 overs and a fake backdoor flush draw. It's not much, but the flop is actually pretty decent for our range. We can have a straight in all the sets, plus over pairs. The small blind down bets to 80. I can't call. Once again though, stuck rules apply. I raised to 200 to fold out most of the opponent's ace-high hands. This doesn't do the trick. The small blind calls. His name is also Todd, by the way. Different dude than the Todd who gave me the football cards. You're getting me distracted with all this Todd talk. We've got a hand to give up on. Except the turn is the king of clubs, improving us a top pair. The small blind checks. I wouldn't be too surprised if he has ace-king. If he has a pocket pair like jacks or tens, he's probably only going to call one more bet anyway. I checked back to almost guarantee that we at least get to showdown, and also to exhibit some weakness in the off chance that the opponent has something worse and wants to turn it into a bluff on the river. The dealer puts out the queen of diamonds, so we improve the top 2 pair after raising with complete garbage on the flop. To make things better, Todd bets 375. What's Todd trying to say he has here? A set of kings or queens? Maybe aces or ace-king? There's only one possible combo of kings and queens each, so it's super unlikely he has us beat that way. We only have 990 total. If we jam for 615 on top, there's a good chance that we can get called by aces or ace-king, which are the 2 hands that we're most likely to be up against. We're going for it and are all in. We don't get snap called. That's a relief. The opponent folds and shows that he has ace-5 of spades. He flopped a double gutter and a backdoor flush draw. He doesn't get there. We get a fortunate run out, and the opponent even gives us a nice little stimulus package on the river to get us back to the even mark. Shout out to Todd's wife, Chris. That's a sugar pie honey bunch, who I was told to apologize to on behalf of Todd for Todd blowing their money. Late in the session, we've got ace-queen offsuit in the cutoff. It's a straddle pot. The player in middle position limps in for 10. I raised to 50. The under-the-gun straddler calls. He's played by far the most snug out of anyone here. The middle position player also calls. We're going 3 ways to the flop. It's queen 3 deuce rainbow. It's check to us. We're going for value. I bet 65 to target worse queens and middling pocket pairs. Under the gun calls. This is a little worrisome given his tight nature. The middle position player folds. It's down to heads up. The turn is the 7 of diamonds. Under the gun wants control of the pot. He leads for 125. He's repping at least a queen. Perhaps he has a set or something like queen 3 or queen 7 suited. I'm very suspicious that I'm beat, but I'm close to the top of my range and I can't fold. I call. It's another big pot that we're involved in. The river is the 8 of hearts. That shouldn't change anything. It certainly doesn't scare the opponent. He increases his bet size to 325. I've been playing for 9 hours. If I call here and I'm wrong, I'm going to be stuck again. If I fold, I can walk away with a small profit and then head to the bar on property where Andrew and a handful of others have already gone to have drinks and hang out. This particular opponent is probably never bluffing. One more time, I convince myself that the player's line is odd and I've got too good of a hand to part with.
Can't fold. Nice hand. Oh, wow. I'm sorry.
Somehow the opponent has ace-10 offsuit and took a very obscure line with intentions of getting me. This is a prime example of why you see me make calls that would otherwise be suspect. People regularly go out of their way to make strange plays against me. This call allows us to win almost an extra $1,000. We lost $600 calling light on the river earlier, and then an additional $100 with ace-king, but we still net a few hundred in profit with river calls in spots where we're likely beat this session. To be honest, I'm surprised that this one worked out, and so is the rest of the table.
I never seen you bluff up until that's the first one. That's the first I thought for sure.
The first bluff I've ever seen from Tony.
I've never seen that.
And he told me he has a bluff since 03.
Once a week, I see it well.
That's crazy. Oh man.
That's rare.
I would have put 1,000, but you had a monster. That's crazy.
Tony just wanted to make the vlog.
I played for another 20 minutes and win a few other hands to book a 4-figure profit after being stuck 4 figures to start. It's time to celebrate the win with Andrew and everyone else at the bar.